Tonight's a very important Game 7. Pistons versus Cavaliers. Game 7. Winner moves on to the Eastern Conference Finals on Tuesday. Either Game 1 will be played, of course, in Detroit if the Pistons win, or if it's the Cavaliers, it will be in the Garden on Tuesday in New York City. But this is a massive game. And obviously, yeah, every Game 7 is massive. But legacies are on the line tonight. And there's a player in specific where his legacy is really on the line. But even Donovan Mitchell, too. It's a big game for him. This is another attempt at Mitchell making a deep run in the postseason. And again, it's a huge spot. You were up 3-2 at home. You have to now go to Detroit for this spot. And on the flip side, Cade Cunningham, I do think there's pressure on the Pistons, but we've said this before, and I'll say it again. It does not feel like this is a championship-winning team. It feels like they are still a couple years away. They did, again, they got there this season with the 1 seed, but they are a couple years, it feels like, ahead of schedule. And next year should be the year the Pistons really have a dominant team to make a run through the East. But anyways, it's a massive Game 7, and we've got some huge storylines and players to talk about. But of course, these are our best bets for Game 7 between the Pistons and the Cavaliers from the Little Caesars Arena. And folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily NBA best bets here on the channel, because tomorrow is Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs. Possibly the most anticipated series in, I don't know, the last 5 years in the NBA. Legitimately, that's how big Spurs versus Thunder is this year. I cannot wait for tomorrow, but we'll get to that again in 24 hours. First, Pistons versus Cavs. Earlier today on the channel, our MLB best bets, so go make sure to check those out. And as well, on Greedo Plays MMA later today, our PFL Brussels full card predictions. Patrick Cabaroa takes on Benson Henderson in the main event. And also tomorrow on Greedo Plays MMA, our PFL Mena full card predictions as well for PFL Pride of Arabia. Let's go first of now 3 best bets today. Of course, we're going to do 2 player props, and we are going to pick a winner / pick the spread to close the day off. Let's kick things off first with a player prop for a player who, again, I believe his legitimate legacy is on the line tonight. Of course, that could be none other than James Harden. I'm taking his under. Everything, and I mean everything, is on the line tonight for Harden. I don't know how many more chances James Harden is going to get in terms of winning a championship and, well, yeah, winning a championship and being on a team that can actually contend for a championship too. Now, again, James Harden next season will likely be on the Cavaliers again. I can't imagine they're going to get him off this contract. James Harden in 26-27 is on a player option. I think it would be pretty crazy to say Harden is going to decline that player option. He'll most likely opt back in to play for the Cavaliers. Of course, Cleveland took the contract away from the Clippers when they made the Darius Garland for James Harden swap. Why they did that, I don't know. But whatever, it's fine. They wanted to win right now, and I understand. Now, again, we'll see about LeBron James in the offseason. I'm not even going to talk about it right now. But James Harden, I don't know how many more chances he's going to get. Next year probably will feel like probably the last chance in terms of Harden being an integral part of a team that's trying to win a championship, because Harden can play 5 more years. It's just post this year and next year, what is Harden doing for a championship team? Because right now, James Harden, there are nights where James Harden is still the star. There are nights where James Harden is still doing everything for the Cavaliers. Most nights it does feel like Donovan Mitchell, but there have been games in this postseason, especially Game 5 in Detroit, where James Harden has taken the game over, and the star of the game for the Cavs is Harden and not Mitchell. And now we get to a Game 7, a historically horrible night and horrible game for Harden. James Harden, career-wise, has been awful in Game 7s. And we are going to break everyone down right now, all the ones that matter. Last year, James Harden in a Game 7 against the Denver Nuggets. Oh, by the way, yes, Harden did play Game 7 this year against the Raptors. I will tell you, he shot 20% from 3 and went 3 for 9 from the field. There was not much for Harden to do in that game. And yes, that was the game that the Cavaliers were winning for the most part, so not much was asked out of James Harden. But regardless, last year, Game 7, Harden, a member of the Los Angeles Clippers, against the Denver Nuggets, up at elevation. James Harden goes 1 for 4 from 3 and 2 for 8 from the field, scoring 7 points. By the way, yes, if you couldn't tell, we're taking Harden's under. We're really playing into this Game 7 narrative because legitimately there is backing and history to this. Last year, Harden does not play well against Denver. Clippers lose. 2023 Game 7 against the Boston Celtics, James Harden puts up 9 points on 3 of 11 of shooting in 41 minutes and 1 for 5 from 3. Of course, Sixers lose to the Celtics. That's part of the long lineage of Joel Embiid series losses to the Celtics, which of course was ended earlier in this postseason. Let's go back now to 2021. I understand James Harden was playing on one leg in this game, but the Nets needed more out of James Harden, it felt like, in this game. Of course, this is Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals back in 2021, the game where, of course, Kevin Durant's foot was on the line. I will tell you, the Brooklyn Nets would have won the NBA Finals last year. Whoever won that series between Brooklyn and Milwaukee was 100% winning the entire thing. I know Kyrie was out and Joe Harris was injured at times there, if I'm not mistaken. I understand. It was a hobbled Brooklyn team, but they still would have gotten past Trae Young and the Hawks. And yes, I believe they would have gotten past Phoenix as well. But anyways, Kevin Durant's this far off of winning the NBA championship, essentially, but foot on the line, game goes into OT. Brooklyn does lose to the Bucks. But what does James Harden do in that Game 7? Again, I understand he was playing on one leg. Steve Nash has said too, he felt like James Harden shouldn't even been playing that game, playing that series, and playing that year. But of course, they were trying to make their run. And of course, when Kyrie got hurt it was Game 5 Kyrie got hurt in, right? Or was it Game 4? Game 4 or 5, when Kyrie got hurt, it changed the entire trajectory of that series. Regardless, Harden in Game 5 plays 53 minutes, scores 22 points. But again, the Nets just needed more. Harden went 5 for 17 from the field, and here's the stat: 2 for 12 from 3. KD did a lot that game. Harden, on the other hand, not much. How about 2000? We can skip 2020, even though, 2020, Harden did win a Game 7 against the Thunder in the first round before Houston eventually lost in the second round to the Lakers. Harden against OKC in that game, that's first-year OKC Shea. That's the Chris Paul Thunder team. Lou Dort took the game-winning shot and didn't make it, obviously. Harden scored 17 points on 4 of 15 from the field in that game and 1 for 9 from 3. It's a bubble game, so a little bit different, but still, Harden didn't show up in that Game 7 either. Here's one. Prior to 2020-2018, James Harden, this was, we're talking greatest James Harden, greatest version of James Harden you're going to get, prime James Harden against the Golden State Warriors. Yes, he scores 32 points, but on what efficiency? 2 for 13 from 3 in that game. It's a game that the Rockets, and a series of the Rockets, of course, blew a 3-2 series lead in. Sound familiar? Harden doesn't play up to par. And the 2 first Game 7s Harden plays, one off the bench for the Thunder, and his first Game 7 with Houston against the Clippers are good games, I'm not going to lie to you. But 2018 through 2025, James Harden has not played well in Game 7s. I don't think he's going to play well in this Game 7 either. I'm taking the under on everything. I'm taking under on points, under on rebounds, under assists, which, of course, I'm not taking them individually. I'm taking the entire thing. So we're taking under 30.5 points, rebounds, and assists for James Harden tonight. Yeah, James Harden's coming off a game where he scored 23 points. He scored 30 in Game 5, where the Cavs don't win Game 5 if it's not for Harden. Donovan Mitchell did not have a great game. Who stepped up? It was Harden in a game that I believed at the time, and I think a lot of people believed, won the Cavaliers the series. You go back to Game 5 and all the momentum the Cavaliers have for winning that game. You go back home. They have not lost in Cleveland all postseason long. I thought it was over. I thought the Cavs were going to the Eastern Conference Finals to take on the New York Knicks. They get blown out at home. Harden did not play a bad game. He really didn't. Well, he didn't shoot a bad game. Turnovers have been a problem for Harden throughout his entire career, and it's been a problem in this series against the Pistons because the Pistons are so active on the defensive side of the ball. 8 turnovers for James Harden in Game 6. Now, to Harden's defense, nobody else could get anything going for Cleveland in that contest. But you want a little bit of a better night than that, and you want to take care of the ball a little bit more. But again, Harden was their best player still. Donovan Mitchell did not have a good game. Evan Mobley was not great. Dean Wade, again, starts had a negative 16 on the plus minus. Harden felt like their best player by far, but of course they lost the game by 20 plus points. And well, everyone just started producing for the Pistons. More on that in a little bit. Even Jalen Duren produced some too, despite an injury suffered later in the game. I'm taking Harden's under. I do not trust Harden in a Game 7. Yes, legacies and careers feel like they're on the line here. James Harden is still one of the greatest players in NBA history to never win a championship and never even appear. Well, he appeared in a championship, I apologize, in NBA Finals back in 2012 with the Thunder. But as a starter and as a actual headline player on his team, James Harden has not been to the NBA Finals, and he's yet to win, of course, an NBA Finals. We'll see. This is a huge game for him and a huge legacy game against a team of the defensive, prowess that Detroit is. I don't think it's going to go well for the Beard. I'm taking under 30.5 points, rebounds, and assists for James Harden. And on the flip side, I'm taking Cade Cunningham over 40.5 points, rebounds, and assists at minus 125. I think Cade's going over. I think Cade's going over this mark. I understand Cade's game 6 wasn't very great in terms of an all-around production standpoint. Cunningham in game 6 only scored 21 points and had 2 rebounds and 8 assists. Don't get me wrong, Cunningham was phenomenal from beyond the arc, and again, if Cunningham can continue to shoot 50% from 3 while taking 10 threes per game, I mean, the Pistons are going to be in phenomenal spots. Again, Cunningham, let me reword what I said. Cunningham was good for the Pistons in game 6. He was what they needed him to be. He did not, again, the Pistons, if they can win like that every single game, they will, because most games, they're stuck with Cunningham doing everything. Game 6, they weren't. So let me rephrase what I said earlier. Cunningham played well. He just did not have a standout performance. He just did what it needed. He did what his team needed him to do to win. Cunningham's still their lead scorer. He's still their best player. He's still taking the big shots. But everyone else started to produce for Detroit. They move Dennis Jenkins to the starting lineup. Of course, Robinson hurt for game 5. They bring Duncan off the bench in this game. I thought it worked really well. Robinson goes 4 for 7 from the field, and of course, all 7 of those shots are 3-pointers. So of course, 4 3-pointers hit for Robinson in that game. And ultimately, the Pistons, they play 9 guys. They go 9 deep in this game. Cunningham plays 42 minutes, 21 points, 7 of 19 from the field, 5 for 10 from 3, 2 rebounds, 8 assists. You see, 7 turnovers. Tobias Harris only scores 6, but okay, here comes Dennis Jenkins with his 11 points on 3 of 7 from the 3-point line. Jalen Duren did not play well, but played better, okay? I'm talking, did not play well in terms of comparing his performance in this postseason or in that game to what he did in the regular season. It's been night and day, obviously, from what we've seen out of Duren earlier in the year in an all-star campaign to what he has become in the playoffs, because Paul Reed played phenomenal minutes in Game 6, and Paul Reed has continued to outplay Jalen Duren in this playoffs. Paul Reed plays 16 minutes against the Cavaliers, scores 17 points on 7 and 9 from the field. I thought Reed played phenomenally well, but again, going back to my point, you have Reed scoring 17 points. You have Duncan hitting 4 3-pointers and scoring 14 points. You've got Jalen Duren now contributing with 15. You got Dennis Jenkins scoring 15. Asard Thompson scoring 10. Marcus Sasser scoring 9. Karis LeVert scoring 8. I understand some of those with Sasser at the very end of the game, but you're getting actual contributions somewhere else. You're getting actual production somewhere else. And that's what makes the Pistons dangerous, because they're not so one-dimensional of, okay, no one can score. Cade, go ahead. Cunningham, we need you. Score 30 points. Take on triple teams, dribble into it, and you're good enough to dribble out of it, but, force your way in, find a very, difficult shot to take and hope it goes in. No, when the rest of the team's actually producing, Cunningham does get better, but Cunningham's allowed to do a lot more, of course. I do think we're going to get double-digit assists for Cunningham in this game. Rebounds, again, rebounds are somewhat of a random stat, but I do think we're going to see a higher rebounding game for Cunningham here. It's a game 7. I think the Cavs are going to miss more shots in this game. Games in Detroit should be a little bit difficult for the Cavaliers, so I think Cunningham's going to get about, I want to say 6 rebounds in this game. I think we're going to get 10 assists, so right off the bat, that's 16 RA or PRA for Cade Cunningham, and of course, then we would need 41 total PRA. That means 25 points out of Cunningham. Asking Cade to score 25 points is not a lot. I mean, earlier in the series in game 2, he scored 25. It was game 2, game 2, 25, game 3, 27, game 5, 39. And this game could very well be a just, we need Cade to do everything game. And if it is, okay, sure. I mean, that's going to work out better for us. I just have a feeling the Pistons kind of figured things out in game 6 on the road. And don't get me wrong, a very competitive first half in that game, but the second half, man, Pistons pull away. They come out firing and come out swinging in that third quarter, and ultimately that was the difference in that game. Pistons led for the most part, right? They lead quite a bit in that first half. The Cavs, though, closed the gap at the end of the first half in that second quarter, and I'm thinking going into the third, I'm like, all right, well, Cleveland found their way at the end of the first half. They're probably going to get right back into the contest, but nope. Pistons immediately jump out to like a 15-point lead to start that third quarter and ultimately pull away by 21 points. They're good. When they're firing, they're really good. And when the team is playing together and they're playing team basketball and they're hitting their 3-pointers, I mean, this is a big difference maker too. Pistons shoot 44% from 3 in game 6 on 16 of 36 from beyond the 3-point line. Cavs shoot 34% on 12 of 35. I mean, if that's the difference, if the Pistons are shooting 44%, the Cavs are shooting 34%, it's a tough night in the office for the Cavaliers. Now, again, we're going to take Cade Cunningham on the over PRA. I'm expecting somewhere along the lines of 28, 6 rebounds, 10 assists. That's my, that's my drawn up line for Cade Cunningham in the spot, but that doesn't matter. Again, we just need the over any way we can take it. Hell, I'll take 41 points and nothing else out of Cunningham. Hopefully that's not required out of him in this game, but who knows, right? Game 7s, you go to your best guys, and we'll see what both teams' best guys can do in this game. Give me Cunningham's over. We already took Harden's under, and now for a winner and for a spread winner, I'm taking the Detroit Pistons. Okay. Again, I've gone most series, and I'll tell you, if you've watched us so far this postseason, if you watched us last year, most series, I do tend to pick one team a lot more than the other. It's been a thing we've done for a while. I mean, throughout that entire Pacers run last year, I took the Pacers in every single game in the playoffs last year. And don't get me wrong, it won us a lot of money because we would bet the money line in most games. But whatever. Again, I said very, very early on last year the Pacers were going to win the East. I've been saying for a while the Thunder winning the NBA championship, but again, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We've had some hits, okay? Like throughout years, right? We called Pacers the NBA Finals last year. We called Indiana Hoosiers to win the national championship in August of last year. Like we've been on rolls. Don't get me wrong. But most series, I do tend to pick one team and kind of stick with them. And there are certain spots where I do flip, like Lakers Thunder, right? For the most part, I took the Thunder, but there was a game where I took the Lakers. And, Minnesota, San Antonio, we took Minnesota a lot more than we took the Spurs. But again, there will be series where I do flip a little bit. And there are series as well where I completely just stay on one team. Again, example, I don't know, Thunder Suns. We never took the Suns earlier in the playoffs. Cleveland Detroit series I've gone back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on. Because I do believe whoever's at home has a clear advantage. Now, again, when the Cavs won Game 5 and pulled Game 5, I don't want to say out of their ass, but what a way to win. I mean, a game that goes into overtime, Cleveland finds a way. That was a game that, again, going into it, I thought the Pistons were going to win, and watching the game, right, I thought the Pistons were going to win that Game 5, right? I mean, they are leading for 70% of that game, and the Cavs go on that big run to close the close regulation, and they ultimately win in overtime. Okay, right? But again, when that happened, I thought, okay, well, Cleveland's going to win the series now. That Game 6 choke is unbelievable. It is. They found a way to get back at halftime, and I'm telling you, when they made it a 3-point game at halftime, I thought, okay, Cavs got this. It was a great start for the Pistons. It's not going to keep up throughout a full 48 minutes. Cleveland's going to catch up, and the Cavaliers are going to find a way in the second half. They're at home. They're moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. And yet the exact opposite happened. Detroit punched them in the mouth. The Pistons came out immediately, went on a 11-1 run, 11-2 run, 13-2 run, whatever the hell it was, 15-2 run, and they just ran away with it. I mean, again, Cleveland would go on their runs and make it look a little more competitive. I think they got it back down to 10 at one point in the fourth quarter, but ultimately Detroit held them off, and the game was over. They win it by 21 points. Great. That was Cleveland's chance. You got a closeout game at home. And that's why I go back to James Harden. He has had big playoff spots throughout his career, and he's really never delivered. And I don't want to talk about Donovan Mitchell about this Donovan Mitchell in terms of in the postseason, but I will real quickly. When has Donovan Mitchell really ever produced in the playoffs? Has it always been his fault? No, but I will tell you, Donovan Mitchell had the number 1 seed last year, and they did run into an all-time Pacers team and with an all-time offense and an all-time pace, I understand, but lost in 5 games to a 4 seed last year. Let's not forget, Donovan Mitchell, I'm going to completely excuse 2020 because of how great a first-round series it was between Denver and Utah. That was one of the greatest postseason series I've ever watched, and just because it was in the bubble, no one remembers it. Are we forgetting 2021? Where Utah was the number 1 seed and lost in 6 games in the semifinals to the Clippers. Clippers had that whole obstacle of getting into the Western Conference Finals, and they never did until they finally got rid of Chris Paul. He went to Phoenix, and they ran into the Jazz. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there, right? Like, Donovan Mitchell has never really won the playoffs. Hell, 2022, I know it was Dallas that played in the first round, and yeah, again, Luka and whatnot, and that was a really tough series for them, but they lost in 6 games, and that's ultimately what blew up that Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell core. Mitchell's never won in the playoffs. I guess, first year in Cleveland, they got to the second round, they beat the Magic in the first round, but then, of course, ended up losing it to the Boston Celtics. Donovan Mitchell's never been to the Western Conference or Eastern Conference Finals. And he's had some good teams And he said some teams that have, had good records in the regular season. And here we go. Again, I don't want to say Donovan Mitchell's a playoff choker. I will tell you from beyond the 3-point line, Mitchell has not been good in this playoffs. He said his good games, though, don't get me wrong. But ultimately, the only stat that you get measured on is winning. Not how you play and how you perform and how many points you score in the postseason. It's okay, did you win or not? Mitchell's had some good games in the series, right? Had 43 points in, what was it, game 4 against the Pistons, of course. Game 3 at 35, both in wins. Great. This team won 3 in a row. They won 3, 4, 5. You think the series is over. They lose game 6 at home, and now here you go. You're going on the road to Detroit for a game 7. I don't think they get it. Now, both teams did win a game 7 in the first round. Pistons beat the Magic. Cavs go out and beat the Raptors at home. Neither game was really competitive. They were on back-to-back, and both were very underwhelming 100%. I don't think the Cavs get it done here. I don't want to say Donovan Mitchell's a playoff choker because I don't think he himself has been the reason his teams have lost. Not at all. I mean, hell, again, the Jazz are a Bogdanovic shot away in the corner, in 2021 from a lot of things changing in the second round, of course, and whatnot. But ultimately, Mitchell's never won in the playoffs. And here, again, this is why it's a big legacy game for both him and Harden. Can they get to the Eastern Conference Finals and become 4 games away from the NBA Finals, from both those guys' first NBA Finals appearance? And again, I will say, there's pressure on the Pistons, but not as much. Cade's not supposed to be here yet. Cunningham had a great year, but this is not Cade's team right now is not Cade's team that he's going to have when he's actually making championship runs. And don't get me wrong, if the Pistons win this game, I'm taking the Pistons to go to the NBA Finals. I am. I just think they match up really well with the Knicks. But that will be like, when Braun had to play the Spurs in his first postseason, or his first finals run. I'm not saying Cade is Braun, but the Pistons are going to be extremely outmatched against whoever they play in the finals, if they get there, against the Spurs or the Thunder. But the matchups they will play if they get the Knicks, and I think it just favors them. However, again, not much is on the line for Cade. Again, you want to be in the playoffs and you want to go to the finals, and obviously the goal is to win an NBA championship, but Cade's 24, and this core is not his core at all. He's going to get a lot better, surrounding pieces very soon and some better shooters. For Mitchell, again, Mitchell's 29. He's got time, but man, Mitchell has failed at he's just fallen short in every single run. And James Harden, this is probably his penultimate run at being a legit, star on a team. I think next year's probably his last run and last shot at being, being 1B on a championship level team. Again, I'm going the Pistons here, guys. Game 6 was it for me. Pistons kind of figure it out. And sure, they just shot a lot better too, but they got better play out their bigs in both Duren and Paul Reed, and I think they're going to carry that into a Game 7 win. I do believe Game 6 was Cleveland's chance. It was a closeout game, and he got it at home. I expected the Cavs to win. I expected them to go play the Knicks. I kind of wrote the Pistons off. Well, Pistons are alive. They're going to play good defense here at home, and I just don't think the Cavs get out of this spot. Give me Detroit at home to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers as well. I'm going to take them to cover. -4 for the Pistons from Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan. Next round, our Pistons move on to the Eastern Conference Finals next round against those New York Knicks. We will see what happens starting Tuesday night, again, from Detroit, Michigan. Folks, thank y'all for watching our NBA Best Bets here for Game 7 on May 17th between the Cavs and the Pistons. If you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals between the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder. I cannot wait for that. Make sure to join us again tomorrow for that. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.